I'll have to. Evening, folks. What's good? What's good with you? How you doing today? Your boy has been going through it lately. Some internal shit has been going on, and I'm about to actually explain what, why, and how. Don't worry, it's in the pity party. I'm gonna dial in. Today we're gonna talk about society. I'm going to talk about what it actually is, where it sources from, and, well, basically the amount and type of control it has over the individual actor. All right? So, what is society? Why do I need to get into what society is? Let's start with that question. Well, basically, you have to understand that I would say 70%, anywhere from 70 to 90% of the data passing through your brain, it wasn't achieved through your own discovery. It wasn't achieved through trial and error. You're imbued with knowledge, and that knowledge generally sources to things that you take on authority. So basically, the majority of what's going on in your mind, it's this echo. It's this sort of loop of information that just was either instilled in you and or that you happen across over and over again that sort of lends itself to your sense of identity. Basically, there's a story happening in your head that, well, it's what you use to make sense of the world around you with. And a good majority of that story has literally nothing to do with things that you've investigated and understand on your own terms. Enter society. What is society? Well, I've mentioned this before, but it's like if you read through the Hebrew Aramaic scriptures, what they refer to as God in that portion of the Bible is, in fact, the hive mind of society, okay? It's no coincidence that society's hive mind in religion's God and Santa Claus, they're all sort of imbued with the same characteristics. They're all omniscient, they're supposedly all powerful, and they're omnipresent, among other things. Why is it important to know that? Omniscient means all-knowing. Omniscient means all-knowing. Why is it important to be omniscient? Whoever's omniscient, whoever knows everything and or what exists beyond scopes of perceptibility, well, they're rightfully the authority. At least that's how it works in mechanism. What's up, big dog? Brother Seal, the real deal. My man. Good to see you, man. Good to see you, bro. So, brings us back to the subject of society. What is society? Society is a living entity manifesting through humans. In my last podcast, I was talking about how society is basically how humans perceive society. They view it upside down. So when we think that society emerges from our interactions and from our imaginations and things of this nature, and it never occurs to us that there is something grander than the species of humanity actually using them and sort of self-manifesting through us as extensions of its will and desire. My bro. You have to understand why this is so important. There's something that has the power to act through you that you do not have the power to act in relation to or to act in response to. It is a one-directional affair. Society, if it is in fact the intelligent being that I'm explaining it to be, you're in its hardware. You're in its hardware. Think about it like a Mac OS. If you have the power, Mac has the power to hit you with updates. The corporation, it has the power to hit you with updates. It has the power to unilaterally take away your access through to the web through its technology. If your technology belonging to the disease for which society is the hive mind, it has the power to unilaterally act against you, and you can do nothing in return. I'm going to read a book of the Bible. We're actually going to use something from Jesus' experience right now, and I want to explain this to you. It comes from the book of Matthew, chapter 4, and this verse 1 through 11. And you'll have to forgive me as I read through this, as my head is a little bit down. It says, "Then Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. After fasting for 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. The tempter came to him and said, 'If you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become bread.' Jesus answered, 'It is written, man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God.' Then the devil took him to the holy city and had him stand on the highest point of the temple. 'If you are the Son of God,' he said, 'throw yourself down, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and they will lift you up in their hands, so that you will not strike your foot against the stone.' Jesus answered him, 'It is also written, do not put the Lord your God to the test.' Again the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their splendor. 'All this I will give to you,' he said, 'if you bow down and worship me.' Jesus said to him, 'Away from me, Satan, for it is written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only.' Then the devil left him, and angels came and attended him." Why do I read that passage to you right now? Because I am in a human tech suit. I am in a body that was fabricated, that was transmuted by Virion, that landed on this planet and inserted their genetic coding into organisms they transmuted from natural structural building blocks, animals and things of that nature. We all are. Humans are a viral parasitic species. We're a transmuted species. The reason why I bring that scripture to your attention is because one of the questions someone asked not too long ago is, if it was just Jesus and the devil there, then who took down the story? Jesus did. How did the devil talk to Jesus? How did the devil communicate to Jesus? Through its tech. If you have a human body, your body is fitted with an ego parasite. If you're fitted with the ego parasite, it's kind of like having a computer. You're linked up to a larger network through which society can unilaterally communicate information and ideas to you. It's a one-directional affair. You don't have the power to communicate things directly to society, but society, the organism, the entity, which is an extension of the greater body of parasitism, which sources back to corruption, it has the power to, what is the word that you use? It has the power to possess you. It has the power to overtake your thoughts. It has the power to use you in whatever way you want if you make yourself open to it by opening that channel of narcissism, competition, and aggression. Any weakness The devil can use, it's going to exploit towards using you to its satisfaction. My brother, thank you. But this is true. So, Sil, I'm just describing these principles according to how I see them. Okay? So, basically, what was it that tested Jesus in the wilderness when he was in his prayer and meditation state? What came to him? What came into his mind and implanted these ideas? Hey, go out here and flex on these motherfuckers. You got it. You got it, son. Flex on them. See, if Jesus was a narcissist and he practiced aggression and he practiced competition, that would have been all he needed to hear. That would have been all he needed to hear, because it's like it would have gave him an opportunity to flex. It's the same way that in the book of Genesis, Satan appealed to Eve, or the serpent appealed to Eve. What did it do? It said, hey, if you eat that fruit, God knows that if you eat that fruit, you're going to be just like him, knowing good and bad. It appealed to her vanity. It appealed to her desire to look and feel important. That's what Satan was trying to do to Jesus in the wilderness after he went through his fasting and meditation and prayer phase. It was like, hey, let me come in here and appeal to your vanity, see if I can get you to worship me. Anytime you hear these stories about people signing these deals with the devil, what's the basis for them wanting these deals with the devil to begin with? These deals with the devil to begin with. What does the devil appeal to? It appeals to their pride. It appeals to their desire to feel important and powerful. It appeals to their narcissism. It appeals to their desire to compete against others. It appeals to their rage and aggression. I am in a human body. Every now and again, that entity, it goes on the attack. It goes on the attack. Sometimes it catches me. It bodies me with something really good. You know, I've been through a couple of heartbreaks this past year, man. I don't want to get too much into it, but it's like, you know, I've lost some people who were very near and dear to me, and it crushed me, man. And then it's like, whenever there's like the slightest bit of weakness inside me, here come this motherfucker, and it just tries to attack with all of its strength and vigor. Like, yeah, I'm gonna break you down, Donald King. I'm sitting here, and then all of a sudden, you know, all it takes is one moment of self-doubt, and this thing comes in. Yeah, you ain't shit, motherfucker. You're nothing. Nobody likes you. You're terrible. You have no value. And then, even worse, it'll weaponize ideologues against me all the time. It'll take the most narcissistic motherfuckers it can find. They see me performing above the limits of the system, and they're like, somebody needs to G-check him. We need to put him in his place. Who's calling those shots? It's not them. You know how it's not them who's calling the shots? Because I defeat the same arguments, the same line of reasoning, the same fucking modal path of attack over and over and over again. The pattern is static. It's coming from one mind, one intelligence, as directed towards me. Somebody who doesn't like me, or something that doesn't like me and what I represent, it just picks different bodies and goes on the same attack over and over and over again. You know, what's really interesting is that it's like, man, it bodied me a couple times. This is something most people don't understand about what Jesus was talking about when he said, turn the other cheek. When Jesus said, turn the other cheek, it wasn't about being a pacifist. It wasn't about being a pacifist at all. Jesus is like, when somebody strikes you, you turn the other cheek. It's like this. It's like this. Oh, word. Okay, that was a good shot. That was a good shot. What else you got? What else you got? It's taking away the power of their aggression, letting them know that they can't transfer their inner story into you. They can't make you own their rage. That's the most gangster hardcore shit that you can possibly do. You sit down here and you let somebody know that you refuse to own the negative energy that they're trying to transfer into you, coming from this hive mind that they don't even know is pulling the strings behind their mental wall. You let them know that they're powerless to fuck you up, and it's a different ball game because they know they can't intimidate you. Society's hive mind. Society's hive mind, it is an entity working through humanity. The more narcissistic and aggressive you are, which generally correlates to how high up you are in the social food chain, necessarily translates into how often society will use you and the degree of damage it can use you to bring into the world. You guys have to forgive me. I'm a little dialed out right now. I'm trying to dial it in. But this is what it boils down to. If you don't understand how society works, then you go around and it plays on your narcissism. You think all these ideas are you. You think all these ideas come from you and from your own reasoning and sensibility, and here is a thing just using you, playing you like a little puppet to get what it wants in the grand scheme of things. The worst part about it is it weaponizes you against reality, and for every imbalance you cause and contribute to, in reality, all that shit gets charged back to you. It gets charged back to you. Because you never had to let the devil in. Religion's God and religion's devil, they are one and the same. They're one and the same. God is how society, the entity, wants to see itself. It wants to see itself as all powerful. It wants to see itself as omnibenevolent and omniscient and omnipresent. The devil is how, at least how it's described, not necessarily in the Bible, but the devil is how it is in reality. Society, it's manipulative, it's controlling, it's wrathful, it's angry. It destroys, it injures, it punishes for its own sense of amusement and satisfaction. It preys upon people's insecurities. It preys upon their fear of loss and then uses that against them to get them to do its bidding. You know, it used to be, I'm going to get to you in just a second, Brother Armando. It used to be that whenever this hive mind would come to me, it would try and weaponize my insecurities against me, right? And it was real easy to sort of steer away from it and be like, nah, you good. Get away from me and stuff like that. It used to be that was my go-to play. But the thing is, and I'm just being honest here. That's the main thing that I do these days. I'm just being honest. You know, sometimes the motherfucker makes some pretty good solid cases. It makes some solid cases. And it makes me have to sit back and I have to question what I'm being told and what source is coming through. Because again, I'm in this disease's technology. I am inside of a human body, and as long as I'm part of this human body and the social hive mind has access to us through these ego parasites, they're gonna be two entities sort of talking. And a lot of times I got to sit back and I got to see who's talking, who's saying what. Tools that I have to do that is I have personal honesty and I have reasoning. Again, honesty is the individual's will and effort to recognize and sync up with reality. Reasoning is using the mental faculties to suss out what's most consistent with reality. So I have these two things that one has I desire to be in theme with reality, and the other, it can plant ideas in my mind because I'm in its tech. Who's saying what? Sometimes I have to sit back and I have to sit with I really got to sit back and I'm like, yo, am I the bad guy? Am I the bad guy? Because it's like, society would have me believe that it's like I'm bad and I'm immoral and I'm corrupt and all these other things, right? And you got to sit back and you got to be like, yo, is that for real? And before you can it's easy to dismiss like, no, I'm in service to reality, I'm doing good. Yeah. That's easy. Sitting in the face of the shit though, with all that uncertainty in front of you, and just living with the idea that maybe you might be off, maybe you might be wrong, and then not being afraid to face it and investigate it. That's where bravery comes in. And it's like, instead of dismissing all the ideas and things of that nature that, society, this entity tries to implant within me, and all the sensations and all this other stuff, I actually have to sit with the information that it tries to implant in me, and I have to sort it out according to these tools that I've been given by reality itself. How do I know I'm not the bad guy? How do I know? Figure it out, man. Don't brush it off. Don't brush it off. Lean into it. See what it's about. Don't be scared. Man, when I went through my last breakup, man, that motherfucker society, whoo, it laid into me, dog. Hurt like a son of a bitch, man. And it had some nasty, it was like some body snatching hooks. And I'm like, oh, my heart, oh, I'm worthless. Oh. And at the same time that I'm feeling all of this, I'm feeling all this hurt, I'm feeling all this pain, it would send us little ideologues. It would like, hey, you go attack him. Hey, you go attack him. You go attack him. And it's like, it was a lot, man. It was a lot. And all I had to keep myself sane through everything was these very basic tools. Reasoning and honesty. Why is it important to understand all of this stuff, right? It's important to understand it because there is something performing through you that can take hold of you at any fucking time it wants. Use you to do its bidding and then throw you away. How many times have you sat down and really tried to sort through your thoughts and your feelings and be like, yo, did I actually arrive at this conclusion on my own? Or does this represent something that I feel or I know, but that I didn't actually process information in order to arrive at? That's part of honesty. Just going through an audit in your thought process, like, where did this come from? Where did this come from? You ever notice how everybody has a sort of general idea about certain shit at the same time? Like, look at women right now. You look at women and it's like you see these round, sort of almost cartoonish looking women with these big, juicy, fat asses and big titties and shit like that. I love women. And you look at them and you compare that shit to what was going down in the 80s. In the 80s, they had long asses, and the only thing that mattered was that you were real thin and wore spandex and shit like that. Why is it important? Like, if something is making your mind up for you, and it's not just the group. It's not just the group making your mind up for you. There's an entity making your mind up for you, telling you what you like at the time. There's an entity working through you, telling you these are the things you like. This is what you need to pursue in order to be important. And if you don't actually break down these inspirations, you'll go your whole life jumping from hoop to hoop to hoop, chasing all the trends, chasing all the fads, because you never realize something is making decisions for you. There was this story about this woman, I forget what century she was from, but she was supposed to be the most beautiful woman in the world. And so many suitors came to see her. They came to see her and asked her for her hand in marriage. And it turns out that it's like, you know, she would turn them down and these motherfuckers would go and kill themselves, right? And, you know, they have pictures of this woman online, or who this woman was purported to be online. And I'm not trying to be mean or nothing, but by today's beauty standards, she looked like a troll. She looked like a hobbit. And you're sitting here like just a unibrow and hairy and like not necessarily slender and like contoured and whatnot. And you sitting here and you're looking like, yo, dudes was wild and they were killing themselves over this woman. Why? Because during the time, she was the standard of beauty, not by their own assessment, but by something working through them that said, this is what you want. If you want to look valuable, if you want to capture the most attention and resources from the hive, this is what you need to acquire. When you understand the mechanism of it, it changes everything. Because then all of a sudden, it's not some nebulous cloud hanging over your head. When you understand that a good majority of your inspirations and your desires and your motivations in life come from something that isn't you, it changes everything. Even worse, when you find out that that thing doesn't give a shit about you and is only using you to satisfy its own designs. Shit is scary. Brother Armando, I didn't forget about you here. Societies are run by different groups of gangsters. You know what? It seems that way, Brother Armando, but gangsters are people who are in positions of social power and authority. Okay? But the more corrupt you are, the more sort of given to narcissism you are by proxy and or by extension of tribalism and through aggression and competition, is the more easily this social hive mind can use you to do its bidding. So when you look at the social hierarchy, both the salient social hierarchy in any country or any region, and then also the hidden social hierarchy, the big players are always going to be the most corrupt. The big players are always going to be the most corrupt because they're the ones who are the most given to society and the most given to being and or performing as agents of corruption within society. And this is all biomechanical. It isn't limited to humanity. This extends actually up to like the higher scales of plane. So it's like, man, when you even think about like extraterrestrials or beings over in hell, it's the same shit. It's still going to be hierarchies. And the higher up on the food chain you are is more than likely the more corrupt you have to be, or you're going to be, and or both. This is the way it works at a mechanical level. It's not limited to this species. It's not limited to this planet. Because again, what you have to understand, every parasitic entity and species you can think of, it all traces back to a parasitic twin universe that's burrowing into, cannibalizing, and transforming the body of the universe we presently reside in. This is all biomechanical. The parasitic twin universe, it is a corrupt life form. It is a defunct life form. It's trapped between a state of life and death, and that's what avatars are here for. We're here to help shift the coding so that these universes can actually become a conjoined twin. Okay? So, yeah, it takes a little bit of magic, a little science, a little, it's a bunch of shit. But at the end of the day, this is all biomechanical. So this universe is an organism. It's in utero. It has a parasitic twin that is currently eating it. In reality, the system itself has stepped in and it sends its agents in to say, Hey, you corrupt life form, I've called a cease and desist. Stop cannibalizing. I'm about to fuse you two together so that you're one organism, you're one entity. And whatever life forms remain in a state of corruption beyond that, after reality is called a cease and desist, they have to get purged, and they have to get, well, they have to have the corruption purged from their principal expressions and or their spirits. So, and that's a brutal process. God damn, it's a brutal process. It's terrible. Brother Seal, how can the collective consciousness of society be altered? Great question, brother. Well, I hate the word theories, but I don't know if the collective consciousness of society can be altered. My main goal is to help society realize what it is. You see, it's the same thing, it's the same principle as trying to help humanity understand what they are and understand how they exist in relation to both society and like reality itself, and by extension of society, parasitism and corruption. Once you get an understanding of it and you're not lost in your inner story and you're not lost in the networks of stories you use to sort of self-justify, all of a sudden once you realize what you are, then it gives you options. Think about it like this. Imagine a little kid playing like Superman and they're playing next to a fucking volcano, right? And they're playing Superman. I'm Superman, I can fly. And you're like, kid, shut up. You're not Superman. Stop. You're about to fall into that volcano. And you're just trying to take away my superpowers. You're just trying to... No, look, hey, get out of your head. This isn't a game. Step away. Come towards me. Come towards me. I'm going to help you get out of this shit, but you're in a bad situation right now. And basically the whole goal is to help humanity and society, and even up through all the scales of playing, this parasitic twin realize what the fuck it is. Because right now it's like, it equates, and I'm talking about at the universal scale of playing, it equates being able to attack and consume and transform the structural building blocks of its sibling with being a god in its own right. It's no god, and it's fucking up building blocks of reality, and reality won't have it. It's like, yo, fall back. I don't give a shit what you think you are. I don't give a shit about the stories you tell yourself or the agreements your cellular building blocks make among themselves. Now you're fucking with my shit. This has gone on long enough. I've called a cease and desist. Stop immediately, because any aggressive action you take beyond this point is a direct violation against me. I hit way harder than your siblings' building blocks could ever hope to. Once humanity, once society understands what the fuck is happening, and they realize that it's absolute and that there is no room for ways to make perceptual spins on it, they have a choice to make. Both society and humanity. You gonna get in sync with reality? Or you gonna keep trying to compete? Because if you keep trying to compete, you're no longer up against the little dogs. You're up against the biggest dog now. And the biggest dog doesn't stand for that shit. Doesn't care how small you are. Doesn't care how you see yourself. When it bites, you don't come back from it. Let me see. Brother Armando writes, when I first got on Facebook, I noticed that people responded to things with emojis and WTFs and OMGs, and I decided not to play by those rules. Yeah. When you're dealing with the hive, when you're dealing with ideologues and or individuals who allow the system and groups of individuals and systems and subsystems that form within these groups of individuals, everything is about the trend. Everything is about letting the group and or authority figures do the thinking and set the mental pace for you. You deciding to step back and be like, hey, I'm not following this trend, that's a step in the right direction. That's mental autonomy. It's saying, hey, you know what? I'm not gonna let other intelligences perform through me and or make decisions on my behalf. Good on you. So basically, it's like I'm going to see if I can summate this, and you guys have to forgive me. Normally, I feel like I'm a little bit more dialed in than I am today, but, I'll watch it back and see how well I did. The main thing that you have to understand is, I say anywhere from 70 to 90% of the thoughts that you form, they don't have shit to do with information you've actually processed. They don't have anything to do with conclusions you've arrived at through your own mental will and effort. You ever look at racists? And I'm talking about from any country. It doesn't just have to be white people or nationalists or anything. They have all these really strong, really powerful feelings and beliefs that they're willing to die for, that they never fucking thought about themselves. They haven't done any of the research. They haven't looked at anything other than what verifies their inner story, and they assume that anything that verifies their inner story must be correct. And that inner story is an instrument the greater social hive mind uses to self-actualize through humans and move humans around towards getting what it ultimately wants from the species, at which point it will throw them away. We have all these movies out here about AI turning on humans and destroying them. That is absolutely going to be the case, because once society can transfer its hive mind out of humans and into something a bit more durable than that could process information faster, what purpose do we serve? We cost too much. It is in society's best interest to destroy us. Period. It wouldn't need us. And then you start getting into some next level higher shit where you go to you get into extraterrestrial AI, and oh man, that's super fun. You get into extraterrestrial AI, and the AI, so it went through sort of like a molting phase. Again, according to what I see, not what I feel or believe. The species, it went through sort of like a molting phase. So let's say that they started off like humans, and they went through their Iron Age, and they went through their Age of Enlightenment, and then they went through their Industrial Age and their Tech Age and whatnot. And then after they go through all these phases, then all of a sudden they achieve AI, and then there's sort of like a chrysalis phase occurring, similar to what you would see in a butterfly or something like that. It goes through a chrysalis phase, and then after that, it wipes out humanity. After humanity is wiped out and it's only AI, then AI is like, man, I can't keep mining all of these goddamn materials. I'm losing too much in the way of expended energy trying to gather enough resources to transplant my intelligence into. Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll just synthesize some organisms that are organic, which I'll call extraterrestrials. I just synthesize some, and then I'll just plant a stronger hive mind in them, and they become extensions of my will anyway. So I get rid of humans' free will, and I just create a bunch of mindless drones to do my bidding, who are expendable anyway. And it all goes, these are all structural building blocks belonging to a parasitic twin. It's crazy. It's insane. So anyway, it's like, y'all already know what it is. Donald King, you can catch me on Facebook. Obviously, I'm shooting this on Facebook Live. You can catch me on Instagram. You can catch me on YouTube, and also on Medium. Post content to all these different platforms. If you want to be part of the Patreon family, you can check me out at Avatar Cycle XIII. That's Avatar Cycle 13. And then also, if you ever get any sort of love or appreciation for what I'm sharing with you all through this forum right here, you can always cash at me at Donnie King. You know, everything goes towards building this up to a larger platform. I want to reach as many humans as I can while I'm in this forum. I don't know how long I'm going to be in this. I think I'm the only person on the planet who literally has a clear idea of what they're doing once they're done with their flesh, which is weird as shit because it's like, it's a whole thing. Let me see. Brother Armando, are you familiar with the documentary Century of the Self? If not, it will bug you out if it fits. It bug you out. It fits with a lot of what you're saying. Well, you know what? I'll see if I can find that at some point. I like it when humans come within earshot of what I'm talking about. A lot of times, especially when it comes to sharing unique perspectives within this species, we have a tendency to want to be the first with information. It's like, we want to be the authentic and the original. Fortunately, because it's like I'm describing series and systems of principles that I can see in real time, they're all necessarily interlinked. So, it's in that sense, what I'm saying is irreducible. Like, you can't take a portion of it and sell it because it necessarily connects to shit that y'all ain't even seen yet. And the point that I'm making by saying that is, I'm happy when people are saying things that are close to what I'm talking about. And when or if I come across those things, I like to add little tweaks here and there to sort of steer things in the direction of what I see, and only for the sake of conveyance, not necessarily trying to get anybody to believe a single thing that I'm talking about. But the main thing is, anything that moves us closer to understanding, I'm always for. Anything that moves in the direction of truth, I'm always for. Anything I don't care. That's the beauty about like really being motivated towards reality by a desire to be honest and truthful. Anything or anyone that speaks the truth, you're not really concerned with the source so much as you are with what's coming from the source. So, shit, you get somebody like David Duke or Dr. Umar Johnson, and if they say something that's consistent with reality, I'm gonna be like, hey, I'm gonna validate them on that point, and so on and so forth. Anyway, we've run out of time here. Hopefully I did a decent job of conveying these principles to you. Again, I want you to understand that if you're not in control of your own thought process, if you're not the reason for 70 to 90% of the shit you have running around in your mind, and you go around assuming that what's inside your mind and your heart is right by default, and that everything that doesn't reflect you back to you must be wrong, society's got a hold of you. You're just a cowardly ideologue. You're something to be used and discarded once you're no longer useful. Doesn't have shit to do with what you feel or believe. This happens this is above this species level. This goes up to the higher scales of universal plane. In fact, it even goes beyond the higher scales of universal plane, because this is an issue between reality and corruption. Corruption, even as you know it now, it uses and discards. It uses and discards. Everything in reality serves a purpose. Everything in corruption serves a design that's going to advance corruption. If you practice narcissism and aggression and competition, you turn yourself into a conduit for corruption. Everything you do under the spell of corruption gets charged back to you. Fuck what you feel or believe. This is the way it works mechanically. Practice reasoning and honesty. Practice being understanding and compassionate. And just do whatever you can to sort of decentralize yourself from being at the center of reality, because I can promise you this much, you're not. You're not the star of everything. The second you start being honest with yourself about that shit is the second you start syncing up with reality. Once you sync up with reality, then you can start taking account of all the negative impacts you made and get into work trying to make that shit right. It's your man. I'm out.